ready to call the meeting to order.
Wonderful. We call this meeting to order. We will start with roll call. Commission members, Vice Chair Gail Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Jesse Breckenridge.
Here.
Commissioner Carol Curtis.
Ms. Curtis will be excused this month. She is on vacation with her family out of the country.
Wonderful. Okay. Commissioner Cal McCloy.
Here.
Commissioner David Steiner. Commissioner David Steiner. Commissioner Thomas Waddell.
Here.
Thank you. City staff, council.
Real quick. David is a guest online. I don't think he responded, but I do see him in attendance.
Okay, thank you for that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we
Can you hear
can
me?
hear you, sir.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries, thank you. Okay, city staff, Councilwoman Regina Salas.
Present.
Economic Vitality Director Heidi Hansen.
I don't believe Heidi's going to be attending today. She is taking personal leave today, tomorrow.
Okay. Airport Director Barney Helmick.
Present.
Airport Programs Manager Brian Gall.
Present.
Airport Communications Manager Claire Harper.
Present.
ARFF Operations Manager Tim Skinner.
Present.
Recording Secretary Missiela Sanner.
Present.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, commission member and staff introduction.
Claire, next page on the slide.
Unveiling today.
This section is just for new members to introduce themselves to the commission, as well as our current members and city staff who are present, to just let them know who they will be working for with this commission.
Great. We'll start with you, Jesse Breckenridge.
Yes, Jesse Breckenridge. I'm with Lovin Contracting, Vice President over there, Flagstaff native, lived here my entire life, grew up in Lower Greenlaw, and now just outside of the Ponderosa Trail limits in the little development Aspen Trails, but enjoy having worked and lived in Flagstaff for the bulk of my life. I'm excited to be part of this team.
Wonderful. Welcome, Jesse. And then we also have Thomas Waddell.
It's Tom. Thomas is too formal. Sounds like my saint name. My name is Tom Waddell. I'm a retired Air Force colonel. Spent 39 years with the Air Force in various functions, including Deputy Support Group Commander, which was managing Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, everything except air operations. First came to Flagstaff in '93 as the Air Force ROTC commander at NAU, then transferred down to Tucson for 20 years and returned back up here in 2016, but kept in touch with Flagstaff all that time because our oldest son and grandson were up here during that time. So, and looking forward to helping out any way I can.
Wonderful. Welcome, Tom, to the Airport Commission. We're happy to have you both as new members. And did you say that now the commission members introduce themselves as well?
Yes, this can just be a brief introduction. If you hold a position with the commission, let them know, that kind of thing.
Okay. Christina Caldwell. I am the chair of the Flagstaff Airport Commission. I formerly worked for Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona as a regional director. And through my work with Goodwill, I was fortunate enough to work with many community partners in government, private sector, just across the board, other nonprofits. And so that's where I was able to really delve into the Flagstaff community and do my civic duty. And so a lot of the commission members I have worked hand in hand, arm in arm with, Vice Chair Gail Jackson and Carol Curtis, and then also with Heidi Hansen around economic development. Currently, I am the president of Social Profit Corrections, and that is a national nonprofit. And our goal is really to help individuals who are incarcerated and coming out of incarceration better their lives and be productive citizens of the community. And so that kind of goes hand in hand with what I did with Goodwill. So it's a good segue for me, and I continue to work in the Flagstaff community with the Coconino Community College and some great people in Flagstaff. So that's me. Vice Chair Gail Jackson, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Gail Jackson. I'm the president and CEO of an organization called ECONA. We are the premier economic development organization here in Northern Arizona. So we work with several partners to bring in new investment, and I'm excited to be here. Look forward to meeting everyone in person soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Cal McCloy, Commissioner McCloy, would you like to go next?
Sure. Cal McCloy. I'm a local real estate broker. I've been in Flagstaff for a little over 40 years. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner David Steiner.
Hi, this is Dave. I've been a Flagstaff resident for almost 9 years. You're currently employed for by Wells Fargo. I'm a private pilot, so I use the basis, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Commissioner Steiner. Okay, and do we go to the city staff at this time?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Councilwoman Regina Salas, would you like to go next?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Airport Commission, Commissioners Breckenridge and Waddle. So I'm your council liaison to the Airport Commission, as well as Tourism and Parks and Recreation Commission. And this is my 4th year serving on Flagstaff City Council. I also represent the city of Flagstaff on the executive boards of Economic Collaborative of Northern Arizona, the Metro Plan Greater Flagstaff, which is our metropolitan planning organization. And with that role, I represent MetroPlan in the statewide Rural Transportation Advocacy Council, for which I serve as vice chair, with the mission to bring state and federal dollars to our local transportation projects. Welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman Salas. Airport Director Barney Helmick.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for participating. I am the airport director for your Flagstaff William Airport, have been for 12 years. I have 34 plus years in various levels of management in airports with 4 different airports. I'm a past president of the Arizona Airports Association, a board of directors member with the Southwest chapter of American Association of Airport Executives, an accredited member of the National Association of American Airport Executives. And fortunate enough to, like I say, be here a little over 12 years. And lucky to have a great team, and we welcome you aboard. A little bit about it. We are an advisory committee. There are some committees in the city that are voting members. We do not do a lot of voting here because most of what advisory committees do is just review and make recommendations or questions about things we do, but we will have something over the next, during your tenure, we'll vote them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barney. Next, we have Airport Programs Manager, Brian Gall.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our new members. I'm Brian Gall. I'm the Airport Programs Manager here at the Flagstaff Airport. Been here at the airport for about 18 months when this position was created. Before that, my background is in civil engineering. Had a few stops along the way, but a majority of my career was as an engineering design consultant on construction projects at airports, both up here at Flagstaff and around the country. So I've been pretty familiar with airports since about 2007 when I started in that role. And in my position here, I'm primarily responsible for managing our grant projects, our design projects, and keeping tabs on construction here at the airport. We do have a little bit of a smaller staff, so we all wear a lot of hats. So that's kind of the primary thing, but you'll hear from us about a number of different issues as well. But welcome to everybody, and great to meet you.
Thank you, Brian. Next, we have Airport Communications Manager, Claire Harper.
Hello, I'm Claire Harper. I serve as your airport communications manager. I began with the airport. I'm relatively new in May. Prior to that, I served at the county, doing communications, public lobbyist, and some legislative work. Before that, I was at the city for 11 years, so I'm really happy to be back. I've been in Flagstaff for more than 15 years. I came up for undergrad and never left, and I'm just very pleased to have all our new commissioners, as well as spread the word of the airport.
Thank you, Claire. Next, we have ARFF Operations Manager, Tim Skinner.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome new commission members. My name is Tim Skinner. I'm the Flagstaff Airport Aircraft Rescue Firefighting and Operations Manager. I've been with the city of Flagstaff for going on 12 years now. Started off with the seasonal wildland crew for the fire department and then joined the airport team. We kind of take care of the house of the Part 139 compliance, which relates to the commercial service side. We also handle the emergency response of aircraft rescue firefighting and emergency medical services. And myself have a group with, Brian as well. We also wear many hats out here like everybody, and so we try and help out the team. And then myself was also like Claire. I came up here to go to school to NAU and never left. So welcome, everyone.
Yes, thank you very much, Tim. Recording Secretary, Miss Yella Sanner.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I go by Missy. It's a little bit easier for everybody, but I'm Missy Ellis-Honor. I've been with the airport a little bit over about 2.5 years. I also, like many, came up to go to NAU, loved Flagstaff and didn't want to leave. I've been up here for about 9 years. I previously worked for the city at the Aquaplex, just in Parks and Recreation. I've had many kind of office clerical type jobs, and so far I've stayed here. Great team to work with. That's about it.
All right, thank you very much, Missy. And then we also have Mr. Orville Wiseman with Wiseman Aviation. Please introduce yourself to our new commissioners.
Welcome. Sorry I was a little late. My name is Orville Wiseman. I own and operate your fixed base operator here, Wiseman Aviation. If you don't, acronym, aviation has a lot of acronyms, FBO. If you don't know what an FBO is, the way I normally explain it is, it's the business entity at the airport that serves the users of the airport. FBOs vary a lot in terms of size and scope of services. We are kind of a dying breed, traditional FBO in that everybody wants to sell fuel, and we of course do that. We do have an in-house flight school, rental planes, in-house maintenance department. Been here 23 plus years. My background, born and raised Tucson, graduated from NAU, left Arizona for 10 years, came back to start Wiseman Aviation. So pretty much anything that comes into the airport that's not coming into the terminal, we're going to deal with. But we also fuel the airline and provide on-call maintenance for the airline. So it's great to have you here. I encourage you to come down and see what we do. You're welcome anytime.
Christina, you're muted right now.
Of course I am. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. All right. I believe that is everyone, the city staff. So let's move on to preliminary general business, public comment, participation, input. All right. So let me read this. Items presented during the public participation input portion of the agenda cannot be acted upon by the commission. Individual members of the commission may ask questions of the public, but are prohibited by the open meeting law from discussion or considering the item amongst themselves until the item has been officially placed on the agenda. Are there any public announcements, or I'm sorry, public participation input at this time? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to announcements. Reconsiderations, changes to the agenda, and other preliminary announcements. Are there any announcements at this time? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the approval of minutes. The regular meeting of September 8th, 2022. Do I hear a motion or discussion with regard to the September minutes?
A motion to approve, Cal McCloy.
Thank you, Commissioner McCloy. Do I hear a second?
This is Gail Jackson, I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Unmute and say aye. All right. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the City Council updates. Councilwoman Salas, please. The floor is yours.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. My apologies for not being able to make it there in person because I'm doing triple duty today. Because I'm the co-chair of the Flagstaff Leadership Program Leadership Education Day today, and it's at the Law Enforcement Administrative Building. But I'm here at City Hall, and I have to leave at about 2:05 because I'm facilitating the panel discussion on local government. Council has been busy. Excuse me. A couple of weeks ago, council had a budget retreat, just kind of having like a quick overview of what the needs are in terms of capital improvement. There was a great amount of time spent with the developer and the team from the hospital, kind of opening up the discussion on the proposal to move the hospital to 89A, extension of Beulah. And there's a path forward in terms of moving forward with the development process, because it will require 3 entitlements, including a rezone of the area and site plan and some major traffic impact and fire impact as the development takes place, and if completed in 5 years. But there's great opportunity for partnership and collaboration, especially with the airport and transit, and of course ADOT, as ADOT rehabilitates the bridge over I-17 on J.W. Powell. And there's great opportunity for multiple partners, city, county, folks at the county fairgrounds, and of course the Flagstaff Air Park on at the airport site, and pivoting for this major development of not just a hospital, it's actually a wellness village that they're trying to build. Of course, the first phase of development is the hospital part, but there's some vision for a housing and some wellness complex in the area as well. So major development that's being planned right now. Council two nights ago reached a consensus to come up with an ordinance regulating short-term rentals. This is by virtue of a new law that was passed recently, empowering municipalities to regulate short-term rentals to a certain extent. Cities cannot still control the amount of the proliferation of short-term rentals, or the quantities of shorter rentals in a certain place. However, the city now can regulate this by permitting it. That means requiring the owner of the shorter rental to get a permit to operate as a short-term rental. And also that means getting a TPT license, which is the sales tax or transaction privilege tax. And hopefully they pay taxes, right? And then of course, they're be required to comply with existing city codes. And another regulation would be they'll be required to submit their emergency contact number to our law enforcement, and then they have to inform neighbors that they are operating a short-term rental unit in the area, and also sharing with their neighbors their emergency contact number. So those are kind of like the salient points of the proposed short-term rental ordinance, which is actually like developed by the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. And so far there are three cities that have adopted a short-term rental ordinance. Coming up on council next week, Monday, the 17th, council will have a joint session with the County Board of Supervisors with respect to all the efforts that we collaborate with the county, flooding, and some fire mitigation, and even potential short-term discussion on short-term rentals too. So that's on Monday. And then Tuesday session, council will discuss a draft noise ordinance. And then let's see. And then on the November 1st session, we will have the outdoor lighting standards, zoning code text amendment discussion, and the approval of the active transportation master plan. Now, wearing my hat as board of the Metro Plan Greater Flagstaff, Metro Plan is scheduled for a public hearing and potential adoption of the Metro Plan Stride Forward, which is the updated regional transportation plan. And that's on November 3rd. And the meeting will be virtual. If you need more information, I can get that to you. And then, of course, as a way of public service announcement, I just got this from our public affairs director. The city of Flagstaff is hosting 3 open houses to provide educational information to members of the public on propositions 441, which is the public infrastructure, and 442, which is housing. And the And I will post the rest of this on the text box too, so you can take note. Wednesday, October 19, 7:30 to 9 a.m. At Late for the Train on Aspen. Friday, October 21, 12:32 at City Hall or online via Teams. And Monday, October 24th, 5 to 6 p.m. at Mother Road Brewery on Mike's Pike. So I'll copy this and put this in the chat box. And I'm here for questions if there are any.
All right, thank you very much, Councilwoman Salas. Commissioners, any questions for Councilwoman Salas? Okay. Hearing none, thank you again. Let's move on in the agenda to the staff reports. Claire Harper.
I'm sorry for everybody on virtual that I'm making sick, switching back and forth. My Teams is having a little bit of an issue, so I apologize. We will start with our emplanements. You can see on the chart for September, we were up a little bit, which is certainly exciting. We do anticipate October to be about the same, and then certainly with United departing on October 28th, we will see our emplanements go down a bit. For our total operations, again, we are up a little bit and staying on trend for where we have been throughout the summer. I am going to let Mr. Wiseman give us a little update on our fuel flow
Right now?
right now.
Oh.
And then you're next.
You caught me off guard. So September was a relatively good month. I mean, considering what we've seen, we were down about 15% from a year ago, but that's better than the 30% we were down over the summer months. Cumulatively, we're down about 17% overall from a year ago, and I'll take that with what's going on in the economy. You know, we have fewer airline flights than we did have, but we still have the United flight. We have two Dallas flights, I think, right now. So that's helping. But honestly, a lot of what has sustained this, if you've looked down the ramp, is we've had a lot of large private turbine traffic coming in and out, and as well as some military and the football charters, which I'll talk about as well, because they've been taking some nice uplifts. But just, you know, Sunday, just as an example, we had a very large corporate jet fly from Hawaii to here to pick up somebody's dog, take 2,700 gallons and turn around and go back. God bless animals. So, yeah.
Wow.
Kind of dog.
Yeah. An expensive one. Thank you.
Thank you. You're up again.
Well, it's time for me to talk.
Yeah.
All right. Going back to fuel, I get price notified, if some of you might recall, every Tuesday. Platts, that's the index that our fuel is indexed to, and it's on Tuesdays, so the update, and it's regional on West Coast Platts, depends what part of the country you're in. West Coast jet went up this week 49 point some cents per gallon. Let's call it 50 cents. That's the single largest increase I've ever seen in 23 years in 1 week. Jet, and you know, you're seeing it at the pumps. There's no correlation between jet fuel and car gas, and avgas isn't even indexed because it's such a weird boutique market, but huge increase in jet fuel. So we'll just wait and see what happens there. I already talked about the fuel flows. We've been busy. We've had a football charter every weekend since the end of August, and we will into early November, unless by, I'll say some miracle, but NAU goes into the playoffs, which then we could potentially see a few more in November. So my son works part-time for Allegiant as a load coordinator, so he's been flying out with NAU. He will tomorrow on every flight and flies back with them. We've had Sun Country in here, and we had one other carrier in here. Let's see, Sun Country 737s. We've had the Airbus 319 and 320. And I think that's it, but they're all transport category airplanes. And that's kind of fun, something different. The end of the month, not the end of the month, actually, the weekend after next, I gotta pull this up so I get it right. The Flagstaff Symphony on October 22nd from 5 to 8 o'clock is doing Sipping with the Symphony in the hangar. So, and I am the keynote sponsor for that. And I thought this is actually something I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm really excited about. They're really excited about it. So should be a fun time. Encourage you to come to it if you can. I guess they're gonna have, I'm not all that refined. I got some free symphony tickets. Maybe something will change, but they're gonna have a bunch of strings playing and have tables set up, and I guess there's gonna be beer and wine tasting and stuff like that. So it should be a lot of fun. And Victim Witness has already contacted me about booking and the Taste of Flagstaff again for next May in the hangar. So we're keeping things rolling there. Other than that, been doing a lot of recruiting right now, trying to kind of get ramped up. There's definitely something going on because I run my ads on Indeed. There's a couple skills tests you have to take if you want me to consider you and stuff. This last posting, which was up for less than 2 weeks, had 91 applicants.
Wow.
Yeah. And I called 10 in for interviews, and amazingly, they all signed up and they all showed up. So yeah, which it's weird. These days, about a third of the people don't even show up for the interviews, even though they picked a time slot and everything else. So, quite candidly, I'm hiring 6, hoping 3 will stick, get us through the winter. But so we're ramping up. It's hard to say what's going to happen this winter, but right now with the private traffic and whatnot, we're pretty busy. We got a C-130 spending the weekend with us, coming from somewhere in the Midwest this weekend. It's Fridays lately with the football charters. It's everything shows up about 11. The Legion plane will show up, a C-130. I think we got a Blackhawk showing up. We'll get some corporate stuff, and everybody's out there running around. It's a good time, but so we're ramping up, and there's always stuff to do. I don't know. I was going to ask Barney if he's heard anything about what the winter's supposed to be like.
I have not. Tim's going to do an update, not this month, I think next month.
Okay.
But I have not been able to follow it yet.
I feel like it's about time that we have a heavy winter. Everybody we're interviewing, we're saying, hey, the runway might be closed, but we're not. We got to get dug out and ready for when they do open the runway. So that's it. If anybody's got any questions for me.
I do. And I hate to bring this up, but it's such a positive end outcome. We had an incident last month that I'm going to ask you to share with the team. And it's only the third time in my history of 30-some years I saw we had a jet divert here because of some hail damage. I just wonder if you'd like to share on that, because your team did a lot to help out in that incident.
Yeah, that was a week ago Monday. We had those tornadoes 30 miles west of town. Well, there was a large fractional company whose jet went through that same area at the same time. I'm not going to give names. I unfortunately had a guy calling sick that night, so I was out fueling in the rain, and to top things off, I was asked to go tow the jet and get it out of the public's view. I'm told from everybody seeing it's the worst hail damage they've ever seen on an airplane. They're over working on it right now. The first set of leading edges that came from like Taiwan got lost by FedEx. The second set, one wing leading edge got damaged. Those things were probably between $60,000 and $100,000 a piece. It could be $1 million repair. We've got it down at the other facility, and we don't do that kind of work, but we're facilitating the mechanics, helping them get that done. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. Amazingly, the windshields did not shatter, and don't show the tail number, please. And the engines are okay, which I have a hard time believing, because if you saw the dents in the wing, it's pretty. And they said it was a very brief period of time. So, yeah.
What altitude were they at when they got hit?
They didn't say. They were coming from California. They went very far south to get around the weather. And, if I was just to be totally candid, we had a safety seminar in the hangar a while back, and I had 2 of Phoenix's TRACON chiefs there. And I was kind of tongue in cheek, like, do you put the weak stick on the north frequency? Because it used to be in the old days, we had tower and we had center, and then they expanded Phoenix approach into Prescott and up to us. And you know what? I want to go back. You can listen for a month in case you don't know that. You can listen to all the frequencies that are recorded. I want to go back and hear the recording, because I'm curious if they got vectored into it. I'll just be totally honest. Because your onboard radar, your actual onboard radar is measuring vapor density. It's not like telling you if it's hill or whatever. And obviously you don't fly into the red, right? And then your downlink is delayed. So it's not live. There's a little bit of a delay. So I'm giving the pilots I mean, you know, this company, they had the best of the best flying. But yeah, it was, you know, I tell everybody in these interviews, every day is different around Wiseman Aviation in this industry. And that was a different day for sure. But we're glad they were empty actually. They came in, they were repositioning to pick up. But yeah. So it's going to be here for at least another week.
And I asked that because we don't often hear, all we ever hear is the negatives. And this showed the professionalism at all levels, including your staff.
Thanks.
And a positive outcome from it. So the industry does work hard to have these kind of accomplishments. Sometimes you can avoid having an incident, but this was a great outcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
What model jet was it?
Well, a Phenom 300. So, yeah. The fastest single pilot rated jet flying right now. They fly with 2 crew people, but yeah, Embraer makes it. It's they have a huge fleet of them. A month and a half ago towed one of the Phenoms down the other hangar and let them change a windshield in it. So yeah, but in fact, the same mechanics are here that worked on that one. Yeah. Thanks, Barney.
Thank you.
So you guys don't do any sheet metal up here, right?
They have contracts. I mean, we do the on-call for the airline. You know, we work on a lot of different stuff. The jets will come in and have a small issue. We have to get the tech publications and everything to touch it legally. All right. In this scenario, there's no way I would even want to. I mean, this is a big job.
Yeah.
There was components that came in that aren't painted. That had to be sent out to be painted. I mean, this is a big job. But there's, 2 days ago, I made it seem like I was a forklift operator, driving crates back and forth between the main facility and there, unloading parts. So, yeah, we do sheet metal, but there is no sheet metal work here. This stuff is all coming in crates, pre-formed, pre-assembled. Those leading edges are stainless steel. They're heated. Yeah, and I tell you how bad it was. They were afraid that the tubes and inside the actual leading edges were damaged. Yeah, it was not just a couple bumps on a plane. Yeah.
Wow. Claire, thank you so much for sharing the pictures. That definitely, that tells the story. And
I don't know, gonna leave the room for a minute.
yeah, definitely. Definitely glad the jet was empty. But thank you for sharing.
I've learned it.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Wiseman?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners, for Mr. Wiseman?
Still waiting for some of you to come down and see me.
Barney brought me down.
Okay.
And if you're interested, commissioners, we can certainly facilitate setting up a time where we all can't be there because of forum, and I'm sure some people already have been, but we can certainly talk about setting up a time to get everybody.
Right. In fact, I had recommended to Claire a couple months ago, maybe she do a role for every part of the airport to get her more well informed. She did the airline, and I hear you contacted Josh. You're going to be working the ramp here soon.
I'll be there.
Nice.
I asked him, did he ask you what size yellow shirt you need?
Not yet.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'd be willing to do that because I have a real busy schedule next week.
And I think part of when we do kind of the airport overview at our next meeting, if you're interested, we can kind of put it out as an airport tour and see, so you can see everything.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Let's
Sure.
move on to the grant updates. Mr. Brian Gall.
Thank you, Chair Caldwell. So this slide might look familiar to folks who were here at the last meeting. This is a repeat from last month, but since we have some new commissioners, I thought I would include it again as kind of a Cliff Notes overview of the grants and the different types of funding sources we have available for projects here at the airport. For a more in-depth look, I recommend you could take a look at the minutes from last month's meeting. We did a pretty deep dive into grant updates and how that ties into the airport's capital improvement plan. But for today, we'll just start with kind of a quick snapshot of that overview. So the airport is an enterprise fund within the city, meaning we're funded generally through revenue and grants rather than through taxes or through the city's general fund. So our ongoing revenue sources are things like our leases, both for the hangars and for the businesses on the airport, license agreements similar to those leases, as well as fees, operating fees, things like that, parking fees that are going to be here hopefully pretty soon. We also have one-time revenue sources that generally take the form of grants. The primarily grant funding source we have is the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA. Those grants take a variety of shapes from the FAA, some based on a formula, based either on the number of passengers we have or the number of operations we have, things like that. Also competitive grants that we can apply for. We also get grants directly from ADOT, and in this case, some of what you're going to see on our updates is we have a number of grants that are funded directly for COVID relief. So all those grants go into our capital improvement plan, which is a 5-year program that we update annually with our partners from the FAA and ADOT, and generally pulls projects from our airport master plan, which is the document that kind of gives us the vision for the upcoming period and gives us what we're trying to work for in terms of development on the airport. I did mention that there are those main revenue sources for grants. Those have 3 primary funding arrangements. So those FAA grants I mentioned are primarily funded by the FAA, but generally have a state and local match component. It can vary somewhere between 5 and 10% pretty frequently, depending on the grant type. We also get grants from ADOT. As I mentioned, those are generally funded about 90% by the state and 10% by the city. And then funding, of course, from local sources, things that we either borrow from the general fund for or pay for out of our own revenue. And then those grants and those projects take into account recommendations from the Airport Commission and, of course, to address any emergencies or emergency repairs we might need on the airport. Next slide, please. So this is the map that we have shown previously for current projects going on that are either under construction or close to construction here at the airport. This was as of this summer. We've added a few check marks there as we've gotten a few of these done. The economy lot off of Pulliam Drive is essentially complete. We're hovering there at about the 98% mark, waiting for a few final components to come in. Though, as I mentioned last month, we are waiting for the paid parking system to be in place before opening that lot, just to make phasing a little bit easier. We did also add the EV charging stations that you might have passed on your way in over across from the Blue Gate near the terminal lot. Those charging stations are operational and we have seen them in use, particularly by some of our rental car companies. So that's exciting to see. Last month, we did finish the repaving of the Wiseman Aviation parking lot. That project went off pretty smoothly and seems like was able to address some operational challenges and fix some of that older pavement over by the FBO. And that project also included removing and replacing the chain link fence around the terminal lot with a more decorative fence. I also added a check next to the airfield maintenance. We did complete an airfield maintenance project over the summer, included the restriping of the commercial ramp and some pavement repairs. That one's going to remain on there. Airfield maintenance is one of those things that never really begins or ends. That's a little bit like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. We finish one, we start the next one. So we're already in the scoping phase for some repairs we're trying to get done before winter comes. Those grants those projects I mentioned were from a variety of funding sources. You can see they're color coded there with the CARES grants, which is a COVID relief program in red. The purple ones are funded locally, and then the green projects there are other FAA grants. And I'll go into more detail on those on future slides. So for ongoing grant funded projects, as I mentioned, we have the CARES maintenance projects, CARES being our COVID relief program. which I'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. The other big ones we've got going right now are the design of our snow removal equipment building. That's a federal, state, and local grant to add a new building to house our snow removal equipment, along with some space for the operators of that, plus other maintenance equipment here at the airport. Right now, that equipment is stored at a variety of places, some within the ARF station, the firefighting station, and others within various hangars around the airfield. And unfortunately, some of it is left outside at the moment. So we're looking to add a building to store that material out of the elements and keep those investments in better shape. There's a rendering of that in the lower right of what we're hoping that looks like. So as I mentioned, that's in the design phase right now. Some of the exciting news we've had more recently is that through a variety of grants, it's not just a single one, but we are slowly but steadily increasing our funding for that project. That's got a pretty big number on it. So we're getting pretty close to what we think we're going to need to get that under construction. And hopefully we'll see that breaking ground sometime next year. We're also working with our engineering consultants on a drainage master plan update. That's going to look at drainage across the airfield and surrounding area, and will provide kind of a roadmap for changes we're going to need to make and things that we're going to need to incorporate into future designs. And Claire, I just saw the question you had there. That's a great point. I forgot to mention that the snow removal equipment building is slated to be built between the ARF station and the airport tower. So that'll be an area we can definitely stop by and take a look at if everybody comes out for an airport tour, hopefully next month. Another project we're looking at is the relocation of Taxiway Whiskey. That's the main taxiway that connects Taxiway Alpha, our main parallel taxiway, back to the Westplex, which is the area of hangars and shades on the west side of the airport. We're looking to move that a little bit further away from the terminal. Number one, to sort of delineate the difference between where the commercial aircraft parking ramp is and the general aviation ramp. And also the FAA has created a standard update that requires airports to not have direct access to a runway from an aircraft parking area. They want you to have at least one 90-degree turn in there. So moving that taxiway will accommodate that, that design requirement. We're also looking at a project to improve the drainage on the commercial ramp. It is an outdoor ramp, and with folks having to walk outside, we're trying to take some of the roof drainage from the terminal underground to hopefully keep that a little bit drier out there. So those were all grant-funded projects. We do also have some airport-funded projects. One of those that we're looking at is adding new lanes to the terminal lot. That's part of our ongoing program to move toward a paid parking system. So those systems require an island and a minimum lane size for things like fire access and the gates that are going to go there. So we're working on a project to add those to the entry and exit of the terminal lot to match what we have in the economy lot. Next slide, please. So these are the specific projects that we have going under that CARES grant. So as I mentioned, we've got a number of them complete. Last fall, we completed the Westplex hangar and shade repairs and the first phase of airfield maintenance. This summer, we finished the second phase of airfield maintenance and the parking lot project that I mentioned earlier. We do have construction pending on a project to do some maintenance activities within the terminal itself and on the airfield for that next phase in response to just some of the maintenance needs on the airfield itself. And we have design pending on the entry and exit lanes for the terminal lot, which I mentioned on that previous slide, and also to replace the fire sprinkler system within the terminal. In addition to those, we have a planned project to do another phase of maintenance on the Westplex hangars and shades, and didn't quite have room for it on the slide, but we're also looking on a project to do some maintenance on the ARF station. And so that is a little bit of a shorter overview of all the projects we have going at the moment. But like I mentioned, if you have a chance to look back at the notes from our previous commission meeting, that goes a little bit more into depth on some of these, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you very much, Brian. just wonderful, wonderful updates. Lots going on at the airport. And I appreciate how you present, you know, what's grant funded and then what is not, and which grants are funding what. So that's very helpful. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Brian, Mr. Gall? All right, hearing none, thank you again. And we will move right along to communication updates with Claire Harper.
Okay. My presentation is a little bit briefer than Brian's, so I'll be fast. We do now have 3 additional LCD digital displays in our terminal for in-terminal advertising. You may have noticed when you walked in, the big one downstairs, we had our network outage and reconnection down through the city last night. So after this meeting, the terminal's been too busy for me to get up on a ladder and reset it. So I will do that after this meeting, and then again, we will have all 4 of our digital displays up. They stream advertising, as well as we are doing some educational pieces on the propositions being run by the city, as well as some city recruitment. You'll see a slide on there. There is a very nice NAU rotates. They have quite a few. And then we have Lowell Observatory. We're certainly working on getting more advertisers up there. And then it can also do our flight tracking. So we'll have our arrivals and our departures will be up there as well. This month, per one of the city council members, they had the idea that if you've ever been to Sky Harbor, you get off the plane and you hear, welcome to Phoenix, this is Mayor Kate Gallegos. So our council members, vice mayor and mayor, have recorded some curated greetings that will be added to our audio system. As you know, we have an election November 8th, so we'll update those based on the election, but we should get those airing next week. You'll be able to hear those. For some fun, positive news, we had a dog come in when I was shadowing American, and CAF News actually picked up the story. I know my screen's kind of sharing a little bit, but it was in our newsletter as well that went out today. So if you want to read some positive news on the airport, that is included in our latest Flagstaff in Flight, which everyone should have received today. And I did see that some of our commissioners have already opened it and read it, so thank you so much. And then our social media and website presence continues to grow. As you know, those are relatively new pages that went up in the beginning of August, but we're seeing about 200 followers, and our website has almost 5,000 views. So we're getting there. And then some of our most popular posts in September, we had one that we celebrated Girls in Aviation Day. So there on the left, we have our all girl power team. That was a photo I was able to capture when I was shadowing American. And then I thought it was I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but we had a post about a fence and it really took off with a lot of tags. So who knew a fence could be that exciting? But it is. So that's all I have for our communications update.
Wow, so I love the idea of having our mayor and vice mayor and greeting the passengers as they travel through the airport. So so very nice. And yeah, who would think that fence would be that popular, but whatever trends, right?
Trends.
Yeah, whatever trends. Commissioner Jackson, you have your hand up. You might be on mute. Are you speaking?
I was on mute. Thank you for that. I just wanted to say thank you to Claire. It's really great to see the airport on social media and bringing more awareness to what's happening out there. That fence is gorgeous. I was just out there Monday, and that was the first thing I noticed when I pulled in, was it just looks so much cleaner and sleeker driving into the airport. So the other thing I wanted to ask was about all the advertising inside of the terminal. It's clearly you guys have been busy. because it's everywhere. And I'm just curious, is there a plan, or is it just if anybody who wants to be involved can get involved to buy some? Because there's a lot going on, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so what it is that once there is a lot going on, we just got our displays up and running last Tuesday. So based off of our media advertising kit that is displayed in there, and then it would be rate. So it's a generating revenue source. So it would be the city obviously has some of their stuff up, but NAU and Lowell are some of our advertisers, and then I have some feelers out with a few others, but we'll certainly start to get more advertising, less city-based focused things. We just don't want to. We need a little bit more content on there. That's why we have that going on for now. I don't have our rate sheet online. When I reach out to people, I send them our media kit, which is online. If we looked at it last meeting, but if we certainly want to see it again, it was also featured in our newsletter that went out today. But I don't include that rate sheet. Our rates are very, very reasonable. And I'm actually doing 50% off for the first 6 months for people that are looking to advertise on our digital displays. And that puts it at, I think it's $75 a month for a minute advertisement. So that 50% rate really helps, but that will be people can either do a 6-month contract and then end it after that, or after the 6 months, then they'll go to that full rate. But we really do want to make our advertising as reasonable as possible so we can promote our local businesses while still bringing in a little bit of revenue to the airport. But yeah, our digital displays are up and new, and then we will have some new tension fabric displays you should see as well in kind of the foyer between the doors.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Claire. And, one other thing I want to bring up to this group was I rented a car recently from the airport as well. And they're really having struggles with keeping cars up here. And so I was wondering if maybe we could start some sort of letter writing campaign to the corporate centers of Enterprise, Budget, Avis. I know there's a shortage, but it's a problem. And with the staffing involved as well, the downtown locations are like open from like 8 to 11 now. So I didn't know if you guys were aware of that, but it would be great if we could have a report from the rental car agencies at some point as well to our commission.
If I could address that real quick, we rent probably over 1,000 cars a year out of our facility. And work pretty closely with all the rental car companies, and it's an ongoing problem. I had somebody come in the other day who used to work for a large FBO in Phoenix till recently, and her husband flew for NetJets, and they deadheaded into here, something that you can do, and they couldn't get a rental car down to Phoenix. So I actually gave him one of my crew cars to take to Phoenix because I had a daughter flying in a couple of days later, and she drove it back. But I'll just share one thing with you. I found out from Enterprise, for example, in talking with the regional manager, is that this is the #1 breakdown location in the entire United States for Enterprise rental cars. So the problem they have is they have people driving across the country on 40, car breaks down, they come in and they have to give them whatever they've got. And I can tell you, like, I'm a Hertz Gold one. I've got to counsel most of them. Hertz flat out called us and said, just so you know, you can have whatever level customer with a reservation, and if they show up, we aren't going to guarantee them a car. And kind of the bigger problem of this, and hey, you want to do a letter writing campaign, go ahead, is Phoenix takes precedence over the rest of the state. And Phoenix is getting into its season now, and they move cars back and forth depending on where the greatest need is. And it's just, even though, this town's obviously exploded, in a lot of different ways, the rental car companies are not staying up to speed. The other issue has been, we all get tired of hearing it, but supply chain issues. They have not been able to get new cars. We were told about a year ago, they were keeping cars, they used to let go of a car after so many miles. They were keeping cars 50, 60, 70,000 miles on because they had no choice. So it's somewhat of a national problem. But I just thought I would interject that in. It's, welcome to my world. When people come in and they haven't reserved a car and they want one, it's tough.
Yeah, it's actually been a problem in Flagstaff at least for a few years, and it's definitely gotten worse. is what as a commission could we do to help out?
I'll answer that. I'm not sure that there is anything we can do, but I think it was a great idea by Vice Chair Jackson to ask our local car rental companies to come in and speak to you so that they may have an idea we're not aware of. It is a national issue. Orville's correct. I sat on, like I say, several regional and national boards, and after employee shortages, rental cars, the number 2 issue at almost every airport in the country. They went so far down. Example, Hertz basically emptied their entire fleet in the state of Arizona at the beginning of COVID because they were in bankruptcy, and also just were not able to rent cars. So you don't go from emptying probably several 100,000 car fleet and try to restore it that quickly. And a lot of the industry has had to deal with that. But I will gladly speak to our local managers and see if they'll come in and speak to this issue. And maybe, like I said, they do have an idea of something that you guys could help them with that we're not aware of. Because, like I say, Orville and I have been having our fingers on this pulse for a while.
Well, that sounds great. Then, yeah, I would recommend that we do that. And thank you, Chair Jackson, for calling that out. It's a good call out. Thank you. Claire, did you have anything else on your communications update?
I didn't, but in the chat, I put a picture and I have it up in the room. And oh, I lost the camera.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to talk about at the FBO report, it always happens afterwards. I'm like, dang, I should have said that. I got a couple emails. They weren't really that big deal. Like, hey, we got some people flying in to drive their cars around. The cars are gonna get delivered. The guy made it really low key, and then towards the end, it's like, hey, we wonder if we could set up a couple tables in the hangar so they could eat lunch. I don't know if you can see the picture. Can they see?
Yes. Yes.
I had 4 covered transports show up with several $1 million in high-end cars. There was honestly only a couple of people that flew in on their own planes. A lot of them came in on the airlines. I put it back towards the other facility because I knew whatever was going to happen, we didn't want going on the front ramp. They're actually using my lift to take that picture. It was kind of neat. I mean, to be really candid about this, I did not charge them, and I should have, because my staff was consumed with shuttling them back and forth. I have a video of the hangar and all the luggage and everything else, but they took off out here. Ironically, they were all from Fort Myers, and this was about 10 days before Ian hit. So that was probably their best flight until the storm came. Really? But this isn't the first time this has happened. I know Barney one time saw a couple very expensive McLarens get delivered, and we had a jet come ultimately from Switzerland with people that drive it up north. So, but we've seen the kind of made the map for where to start out your car rallies. So, yeah, and as a sideline of this, I had them park the lawn back there, and I didn't want the trucks there any longer. I had to, and so forth and so on. And where they were unloading some of the cars, I wasn't happy. And most of the drivers, I don't know why, they were expatriates of Russia. And I went to the guy. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I move these cars? And he goes, no, not yours. And I was like, okay, well then get them out of here, because I don't want them sitting here. And but I haven't anybody talk to me quite like that ever. I think he would have shot me if I would have opened the door. But, yeah.
Well, very cool picture. Yeah. You might.
There was the background on some of them, but we didn't get that one. I don't think.
I think that's the one I shared.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, keep it.
Yeah. Every day, like I say, every day is different.
Yeah.
Next day, it's exotic cars. So.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Claire, for your communication update. All right. If there isn't anything else, we are at the end of our agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.